So it's always nice to end the week with a new feature, and we've just wrapped up support for packaging in Credyt. This is really handy for volume-based pricing where the granularity in which you price differs from the granularity in which you track usage or measure usage. What does that actually mean? Well, the best way is to explain that is with an example. So we've got the OpenAI pricing, API pricing up on screen here, and you can see that the pricing is set per million of tokens, whether that's input tokens or output tokens. And that's pretty common across generative AI products, but we also see it in other consumption-based models. So it could be that pricing is set in minutes but measured in seconds, or in the case of infrastructure it might be set per kilobyte or measured per kilobyte but set per gigabyte or megabyte. And the challenge with setting pricing at that level of granularity is you start having to price in the millionths of cent, which gets difficult to manage. And so we wanted to make this really easy to manage within Credyt, because it's such a common setup within AI. Another issue we spotted when we first started to look at how packaging is done in a lot of the traditional billing solutions is that packaging is often handled by rounding up to the nearest package. So if you package in, if your package size is set to say 1 million and you use 400 tokens, then you pay at least for one package. And of course, that's not what we want in usage-based pricing for AI workloads or other consumption-based models. So let's have a look at how we would actually go ahead and implement this within Credyt. So I'm going to look at the GPT 5.1 pricing. So it's $1.25 per million of input tokens and $10 per million of output tokens. I'm going to switch over to Bruno, our API client. And what I've got here is I'm going to configure a product or create a product within Credyt. I've called this OpenAPI. And I've set two prices. One is for the input tokens. You can see that I'm setting the volume rate to $1.25, and I'm measuring this volume field input tokens. And I've set my package size to 1 million. I also have another price here, which is GPT 5.1 output tokens, and I've set my volume rate to $10 and my package size again to 1 million tokens. So I can go ahead and I can create this product. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the simulation endpoint to actually make sure that our pricing is working as expected. So here I'm sending a payload as if a customer was actually using my product, and to keep things really simple and ensure that the pricing is working as expected, I'm sending 1 million input tokens and 1 million output tokens. And I can see indeed that the calculated amount for both of the fees, for the input token fee and the output token fee, is $1.25 and $10 respectively. So I know that my package size is being applied appropriately. Of course, if this was something more realistic, I don't know, like 400 and 2,560, I would get a much smaller value calculated at a higher precision. So we can then go ahead and actually put this into practice. Let's go and create a customer, subscribe them to the OpenAI product. We're then going to pre-fund that balance just to give a more realistic setup. So we'll add $100 to that customer's wallet. And then let's send a usage event. I'll start with just sending 1 million tokens. So as if they've completed some workload and they've used 1 million input tokens and 1 million output tokens. So let's go and send that usage. And now let's open up a portal session for that customer. And we should be able to see their usage reflected in the billing portal. So here we have our customer. I can see already that something has been debited from their wallet because they've only got $88.75 left of credit. And sure enough, if I come down to recent usage, I can see that I've got my input token fee and my output token fee being applied, the exact unit price, which is being converted based on the package size and the cost. And I can also see that in my transaction view. Again, if I go back and I send a smaller value here, what do we do, 60. And switch back, give this a refresh. You can see that I've got a much lower cost here, but the pricing has been, the fee has been calculated as expected. So there we have the packaging within volume pricing, and that should make it much easier to price your products in a way that makes sense to both you and your customers, but retain the granularity when it comes down to tracking and measuring usage. Have a great weekend, folks.